Hi Aries, this is your Vedic Astrology forecast for November 2014, and this forecast is going to apply to you if you have the moon or the ascendant in the sign of Aries in Vedic Astrology. I know some of you guys probably watched the Western forecasts for Western astrology, and that one uses the sun sign. Vedic astrology is a little bit different, and Vedic astrology uses the moon sign mostly for transits and for predictions, and it uses the ascendant. So if you guys don't know where your moon or your ascendant are in Vedic astrology, just go to my website, generate your free Vedic chart, and find out. Now, I just want to make something clear that both systems of astrology are accurate and they are both reliable. They just use different systems, different tools of prediction. So they are two different systems of astrology, but it doesn't mean that one is necessarily better than the other. They are both good. So if you're going to be following along with both types of predictions, if you're going to be looking at your Vedic predictions, just keep in mind to look at your moon sign and your ascendant sign in the Vedic system of astrology. And again, you can find that on my website when you generate your chart. And just try not to confuse both systems because I know it can be a little bit confusing at times. Saturn's going to be entering into the sign of Scorpio in your 8th house, and this is going to take place for the next two and a half to 3 years. So what does Saturn represent? Saturn represents perseverance, hard work. He is the taskmaster. He's a bloody perfectionist. And he also represents restrictions, duties, responsibilities, certain obstacles, certain delays. He doesn't deny those, so never forget that. He might delay, but he doesn't deny. And he also represents a certain resistance to things. And the 8th house has to do with changes and transformations. So one of the things that you may be seeing during this new phase of Saturn's transiting the 8th house is that there may be some resistance to any kind of transformation that you might want to go through, or any kind of transformation that might be imposed on you. So any changes, you may find yourself resisting that change, or you may find that there's just resistance in general. Now, in your case, Saturn rules the 10th and the 11th houses. So ruling the 10th house, it has to do with your work and with your career, among certain other things. With your 10th Lord of Career transiting the 8th house, there's going to be probably a lot more responsibility placed on your shoulders. Duty at work is going to increase, most likely. For some of you, there's going to be probably maybe a higher workload than you were expecting, and you know, certain things like that. Just don't let it overwhelm you, because Saturn is a taskmaster and he is the planet of perseverance. So basically your task is to just get the work done and just do it. Just keep working. Don't let the work overwhelm you, because it might be a little bit of too much responsibility and you might start to feel a little bit stressed out at times in regards to work. Now, it's not going to be that burdensome because Jupiter is aspecting Scorpio during this time. So Jupiter is bringing in his beneficial influence. Now, another thing that this could also indicate is that there might be a change of work, because the 8th house has to do with changes, with sudden changes, sudden transformations. So there could either be a change of work, or it could also mean a transformation of your current work environment, of your current job duties, etc. Now, since Saturn also represents friendship in your chart, there may be some friends that happen to fall away from your life. And this could be due either to some disagreements between you guys, it could be due to a choice on your part or a choice on their part, or it could just be due to a sudden event and they just suddenly moved away, either from your town or they moved away to a different workplace, etc. It could also be due to maybe certain intrigues or certain manipulations or things like that, that maybe a third party got in the way and started feeding that kind of information, and then it just turned into something larger than it should have. So some, things of that nature could transpire in the case of some of you guys, not with everybody. But what this is going to lead to is that you're going to meet some new friends, and some new people are going to be entering into your life. And the new people that will be entering into your life could probably be there because now there's a karmic reason they may need you at this time, or you may need them. They may enter into your life as a result of maybe a certain crisis, or maybe because of certain situation that came about, because the 8th house is very unpredictable. So these people could be brought into your life for those reasons. Now, since the 11th house will be transiting your 8th house of gains, there may be some sudden gains that you were not expecting. It could either be through loans, through inheritance, through insurance companies, through clients, anything like that, maybe through a small lottery or a large lottery, depending on your personal birth chart, a sudden windfall. This is also further supported by Jupiter's aspect, exalted Jupiter aspecting your 8th house. So now with Jupiter having been aspecting that house since the summertime, and now Saturn is going to be entering your 8th house, this is the time that it could happen. And depending on what planetary cycle you're currently running in your personal birth chart, this is what clues us into the timing of that event. Now, through the first half of the month, Sun is going to be in your 7th house, Libra, until the 16th of November. Venus is also going to be there until the 11th of November. And Mercury is going to be entering this sign on the 2nd of November, and Mercury will be there through most of the month. So there's going to be a lot of energy happening in your 7th house of relationships, of partners, of marriage, of business partners. A lot of stuff is going to be going on. Also, if you own your own business, there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of growth, a lot of progress. This is a very, very good time, especially the first half of the month. You may find that there is a lot of growth happening in either in your personal business or in your romantic partnerships. There's going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of fun happening at the same time. Desires are going to be intense, both for you and your partner. There's going to be some intensification of that desire, and creativity is going to play its part too, because Sun rules the 5th house of creativity, and Mercury also has to do to an extent with creativity. And Venus, we cannot leave Venus out of that as well. So there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy. Granted, Sun is not very happy in the sign of Libra because it is its least favorite sign, but the Sun is going to be supported by Venus during this transit because Venus will be protecting his own house. Nevertheless, you may still find yourself involved in some sort of competitive energy with your partners, with your business or romantic partnerships. And the reason for this is because Mercury rules the 6th house and the 3rd house, which has to do with competition. Generally, we like to use competition in our work environment when we're trying to succeed and move up the ladder. But we generally don't like to see that competition happening in our personal relationships. Now, the second half of the month, after Sun and Venus leave the sign of Libra and enter into the sign of Scorpio, it's going to be a little bit more challenging in terms of relationships. And the reason I say this is because Saturn just happened to enter that sign, and Venus is a double significator for relationships in your chart, because Venus already signifies relationships in general and romance and love and marriage, etc. And it also is your seventh lord, which also signifies all of the above. So there's a double role that Venus plays in your case in terms of relationships and romantic partners. Moving into the 8th house, there's going to be some mixed energy happening here. There's going to be some very nice sexual excitement that you might also be seeing, because Venus is going to bring that house to life. There's going to be maybe a lot of flirting, maybe there's going to be some passion, some sensuality, which is good. But at the same time, there might also be some incidents or some obstacles that might get in the way in your romantic partnership. There could be maybe some misunderstandings, some intrigues, again, things like that. Just watch out for that. Don't let it grow. It's only going to be a short transit. Don't dwell on anything like that, because it just might make things a little bit more intensified. And basically the best way that you can use this energy for now is trying to increase the energy of Venus being in the 8th house. This is going to increase your sex appeal, your charisma, your sensuality, your attractiveness. And while all this is happening, Mars is going to be in your 9th house in Sagittarius for most of the month of November. And basically Mars represents you. Mars is your ascendant lord. It represents your body, your personality, yourself. With Mars being in the 9th house, even though all this stuff is going on with Venus transiting your 7th house, or giving you a lot of desires, strong desires and passions, and then Venus moving into the 8th house and awakening that 8th house energy as well, this at the same time you are going to be interested in higher philosophical studies or spirituality. Now with Venus, yes, it affects you because it's your chart, because Venus is your 7th lord. But more than anything, it does represent your partner. So it represents the person who you're with, who's going to be experiencing these kind of emotions. And if you're not in a bonded relationship at this time, then this other person is indicating somebody in your life who is close to you, maybe who's a friend or somebody that you are attracted to. That's the person that's indicated by Venus, but you will still feel that yourself as well. And back to Mars being in the 9th house, you're going to call into question a lot of things, but your mind is going to become elevated for the month. Your mind, your spirituality is going to become activated. You might feel the desire to seek into philosophical books or scriptures, things of that nature. You may also have the inclination to travel, because 9th house also has to do with traveling. So it'll actually be a good time to travel, especially because the planet that rules that house, Jupiter, is exalted at this time. So if it's in your personal birth chart, if you're running a planetary cycle that indicates traveling, that could be another indication of Mars transiting your 9th house. So many of these things could be taking place for you this month, and it will not take place necessarily for all of you because everybody has a different birth chart. So the transits will activate certain things in your personal charts if they apply, but not the same in everybody. So I just want to get that out of the way, just make it clear to everybody that it's not going to affect everybody the same way, just some more than others of you. So this was your monthly forecast for Aries, November 2014. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for additional forecasts and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.